Yes. Okay, let's get started. Yeah. You. So let's get started. Good morning and welcome to Political Liaison for April 8th, 2024. So adoption of the agenda. Is there any? Moved by Melba, second by Carrie. All in favor? By opposed? Seen none, carried. Our first presentation that we have is Brad Coburn and Kathy Rum from University Secretariat at McMaster. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. And just a clarification, Brad set up the meeting for us. I don't think he's attending, but we do have a couple of contacts or colleagues. I'm Kathy Ramy from Boyden in Ottawa, the executive search firm that is assisting McMaster on this recruitment. And I will allow Jane and Juliet to introduce themselves.
Go ahead, Juliet.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for meeting with us today. So I'm Juliet Daniel. I'm a cancer biologist in the Department of Biology and the Associate Dean of Research and External Relations in the Faculty of Science, and I'm one of the elected faculty members for the Presidential Search Committee. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Juliet. I'm Jane Allen. I'm chair of the Board of Governors of McMaster University, and I'm co-chairing the committee to recommend a president for McMaster. And I'm very pleased to be with you today.
Okay, welcome. So Kathy, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. It is an honor to be with you and that you've allowed us to come into your meeting and have this discussion. And really what we'd like to hear, we've done a number of consultations, and Jane and Juliet are aware of the extensive discussions we've had with full community members across McMaster. And what we'd like to take today is really, as you're such an important community member and McMaster being part of your community, to hear your thoughts on what you would like to see from a different perspective. Of course, this is the presidential recruitment, but what you would like to see, or your role or participation with McMaster, and how you feel the collaboration and work with McMaster for the community, and as well what you'd like to see from a relationship of the next president coming in, perhaps things to change, to alter, to grow, to invest on. Those are the types of questions we have here, and would like to open the floor to the council. And so that first question really is your relationship with MAC, and how you see it and how you'd like to see it, perhaps those future challenges and opportunities for your community or for the count for Six Nations and with MAC. So it's really an open discussion that we'd like to have.
Okay,
Yes.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the request? Go ahead, Audrey.
Morning. I would like to see that there's clear policies on people who are non-Indigenous trying to use that Indigenous rights. People with no relationship to Six Nations shouldn't be applying for positions that band members should be able to apply for. And I'd like to see almost like a report, how many Six Nations students are at MAC? What careers, projections are they following? And to let us know so we know where everybody is when we need people to hire for Six Nations community. Yeah.
Great point.
Greg?
Yeah, I had the opportunity last year to be involved with the facilitated Indigenous application process at the medical school, where we reviewed, I think, about 28 applicants that were going to vying for the medical school there. One of the things, too, is that I would like to see that there is a clear delineation between the First Nations students, as to follow along what Audrey was saying, is that, because we're getting a lot of influx of self-identified. We're getting a lot of
Hello?
influx of the
Yeah,
Métis.
okay. Yes, yes.
And so,
Audrey, can you go on mute? Thank you.
yeah, so that was just something that we would like to see, or I would like to see,
Yeah.
something with a clear delineation and recognition that, First Nations is not mixed in with a lot of other groups that, and we've heard it in the news as well, being self-identified in that. And the other thing too is a better working relationship, I think, because you have a very, I would say, very advanced medical school, as well as a lot of medical services. You do a lot of research, and a lot of your research is innovative. And we would like to be involved in some of that too, as well as research. I know we're a little bit wary of using data based on us, but if it's going to improve the situation between, say, for example, health services and our needs, because as you know, we have high morbidity rates. We are trying to make inroads into your medical school for the residency program, and I think that would be quite helpful. So those are my concerns, basically on to the medical side of it. And I know that your school is well renowned in the medical field.
Amos?
Good morning. Thanks for your presentation this morning. My name is Amos Key Jr. I was just wondering if we could start an engagement with our community. I'm here for the next 4 years, I hope. And just one of my aspirations for running for this council was to look at wraparound services for health with Six Nations, a center for our seniors and our young people, and just how we could engage and develop that. That's one of my aspirations. The other is to ask you, or have a question for the president in the interviews, was how do they plan to incorporate the 94 calls to action from 2015, and now the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Ask them if they know anything about that as part of their qualifications to become the president and vice chancellor of McMaster University. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I think also for if there's any place for one of the counselors to sit on a committee regarding, so we can have that dialogue and that connection with McMaster, that would be great also. Audrey?
Yes, I'd like to know if it's possible for us to meet once a president is chosen. It would be nice to know who they are so we can form that relationship and partnership with them. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments? If not, oh, go ahead, Ruby.
Sorry, we can't hear if Ruby's speaking.
You have to.
I was wondering how many candidates ever get picked, because the years that I sat were like Greg did, they would go through them and none of them got chosen at all. Like there would be maybe 8 to 10 people with applications in there, and that never happened. So what's the rate these days for our community members to be chosen for school there?
Sorry, Ruby, we missed the first part. So when you're saying candidates, are you saying for president role or just in general students, or just clarification, because we only heard the last part?
The applicants that come to there with their trying to be a doctor.
Go ahead, Dale.
I think with Ruby, she's sitting in the audience, and she asked a question in relation to a number of applicants that have applied for the doctor program. how many applied and how many are successful. So she's just looking for, I guess, a percentage on applicants that where people apply to go through the medical program to be a doctor.
We will have to get back to you. We don't have those stats, but we can look into it and work with Mac to see what type of numbers there are for sure. Thank you, Ruby, for that question.
Okay, if
I
there's
have
no.
a question. I have a question. Sorry, you probably can't see my hand up. I think someone, I didn't hear the name, said that they wanted to know if there are any spots for counselors to sit on the committee. And I wasn't sure if you meant the presidential search committee or committees in general regarding partnerships with Six Nations. So I just wanted clarification on that comment about whether or not there was the possibility for counselors to sit on a committee with McMaster.
For the search for the president.
For the search for the president, I can let Jane or Kathy answer that.
Yeah, I mean, that committee's been well established. We do actually have a First Nations person on the committee. He happens to be a graduate student. And we're well into the process. And so we're hoping that we can get your input through this forum here or any other time you would want to meet and talk about topics with us.
Okay, thank you. Melba?
Yes, do you continue to have an elder sitting at McMaster that relate to the students, the Native students?
We do have an Indigenous program that is led by First Nations leaders. I don't know if there's a specific role of elder, but that sounds like a good idea to me if we don't. We also have a First Nations person on our Board of Governors. But I like that question. Thank you.
And I'll just, yeah, there is an elder in residence at, I'm just
Okay.
quickly looking it up. Yeah, so there is, it's Renee Thomas Hill. And that's within the Indigenous Studies program, so that's the same.
Just a follow-up, is that a full-time position?
I don't
No.
think we wouldn't know that.
Yeah. But what we can do is we can have Mac reach out, we can have Brad reach out as well for especially these particular questions in terms of internal content and numbers and stats and work with you to get that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, thank you for coming today.
Thanks for
Great.
the opportunity. Have a great
Thank you
day.
for having us.
you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
Have a great meeting. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a mover for information. Moved by Audrey, seconder. Melba, comment, Greg?
Are they off?
Yes.
To me, it just sounds like they're checking a box to me. But I don't know, that's just the feeling I got. You know, when they're not too receptive of having us on the selection committee that, grad students too, as you know, Amos, you know, and again, the background again of what kind of, to me, it's kind of, the whole thing was kind of questionable, but that was just my feeling.
Okay, all in favor? Be opposed? See none carried. Melba, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm surprised that they don't have some of the answers, which appear to be very simple, and they should have them right handy at their fingertips. Thanks.
Okay, let's move on. We have Six Nations Farmer Association here today. Welcome. Good morning. And to do a presentation on your feasibility study, to talk about it. Go ahead. Yeah.
We give you that stick there. the first one, I guess. Can you make it bigger?
What's a different, that's the,
Well, she's getting that ready, the Six Nations Farmers Association, um, has been busy working on a number of things. And, I'm kind of, I lived in this community my whole life and I'm kind of trying to figure out where we're at with, how much work how much work that's put into, any type of ventures like this. So, we kind of been going off of council's lead a lot on requirements for things that need a lot of boxes to be checked. So it's crossed my mind in the last little while as to how much other things have gone on in the past with Six Nations in ventures, I guess, if you want to call them that, like the dump and the water and different things like that, to actually look at all the work gone into it prior to it being up and running and open. So for us, we've been at this for a while now, and it's been quite the journey of getting all our i's dotted and t's crossed throughout this process. So a lot of this presentation is going to depend on you guys reading the information that we give you. So I hope that you have, and we look forward to any questions after pertaining to what we're presenting this morning. Did you get her? Yes, there we go. That looks a little better. Okay, the Six Nations Sustainability Food Security Task Force. Just to come up with that, the farmers met with a lot of things that we had to look at in what does that mean and how are we going to proceed. So the Six Nations farmers uh, looked at a lot of when we started as to now and the community inputs as to where we're at. And these are some of the guys and our vision on our stewardship. The practices, we wanted to look at best practices, but along with that, we wanted to be able to advise the community and the council as a whole as to what's happening in agriculture. And we feel that it's very important for land use. Next one. To create a community food sustainability and food security program owned by the community. So when we did some surveys, that's one of the things that the community wanted, the community to own it. Next one. The studies that were done, the reports established viable agriculture in the Six Nations community, major outcome for food sustainability, future community agriculture activity, major outcome, its feasibility to reestablish food sustainability agriculture program in the community. So these things were asked of the community, and there was a lot of a great response to this. So it's from the community. Next. We looked at what the community asked us to do, and a part of this was an agricultural resource center and a grocery store. We did this based on a lot of the information that we were given back of what we were losing in a line of our elders, the knowledge that they had based on agriculture in our community, and also a place for a grocery store. Now, we can talk about that for a while too, but even the grocery store itself, there's many concepts of a grocery store out there. So we are looking at a concept that fit Six Nations. Next one. Established in 2021, 9 board of directors, policy, procedure, registration, Six Nations Economic, Six Nations Council, opened a bank account, establish functional office. So when you look at this, you guys know how hard it is to get an office here, office space. So it took a lot for us. We've been in some rough spots, meeting in some rough spots. Some of you know that already. So we are able to get our office, and it's located at 1778 4th Line. So that's just in front of J.C. Hill School. Next one. Goals of Agriculture and Resource Center, supporting connecting with, and, oh, you're a little too fast for me on the draw. I can't even read that fast, let alone talk that fast. But anyway, a part of this is what the community is asking us to do, and keeping in touch with our traditional ways that we handle our food and process our food, grow our food. We want to support economic development, skills and training, enterprise development and community. Like, they're supporting us, our surrounding agencies that we have in the community for support, service support. They're very interested in supporting this endeavor that we're all on. Next one. Agriculture Resource Center for farmers and community, farmers market, specialty foods. Well, I hate to say it, but some people call our white corn specialty foods when it's a staple of our people. So we've had different comments about our resource center and the community, and what's needed in a line of moving forward. So our food, farmers market, resource center, store, like all of those things are very much needed. Next one. Provide technical information, business information, other resources, ensure sustainable agriculture administration component. So again, having that resource department would help agriculture in looking at the viability of it and assisting small farms to large farms. Next one. Development, partnership, and support with Business Resource Center, Agricultural Resource Center, Advocacy Group, farm equipment sharing and group purchasing. So again, all of that is working together with our existing agriculture sector and community that we created.
Yeah. I had to get some glasses first.
Leslie, can you go on mute, please? Leslie,
Yes.
can you go on mute, please?
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
So community research management duties, develop resource material for our community. A lot of people, I hate to say it, they're struggling with laying out gardens. We've been assisting schools already with revitalizing their plant, their learning, their education in agriculture. And some have propagated seeds. Some of you know that from previous years. So it's been that part has been growing, and it'll continue to grow in that part for our community as well. Next one. Especially foods outlook for local, sustainable, grown produce, meat, healthy food, economic development. See, a lot of what we're talking about in this presentation is we do have outside producers that want to get involved. We do have some of our own beef producers in our community here. So we want to try to pull this together and have it available for all our community members here. Next one. Agriculture Resource Center administration duties. So a lot of the research, our resource center administration assistant duties, they'll be assisting in looking in the community for support in what's happening with our community as well. Next one. Farmers market store manager duties. They're gonna be on their toes quite a bit, trying to keep the business operating, supervising employees, financial, like all of this stuff. When we did our presentations earlier, we talked with Great and Polytech on a lot of what we are needing in the future. And we're still on that target. Next one. Store inventory, assistant manager will be doing store inventory, supervise employees. So again, that's day to day and looking at keeping that fresh, keeping it well clean, keeping it well presentable for our community. Next one. Store clerks. And again, we've been in talks with Great and Polytech on what we're gonna need in a line of people to help keep this going. Next one. Maintenance personnel duties. Again, this is goes back to Great and Polytech again for helping to assist us in keeping this up and running and clean, and looking at how we create a assistant management plan throughout the week and the month. Next one. Store operations. So we're looking at 7 days a week, 8 AM to 6 PM. And that's subject to change depending on what the community is looking for. Building size. Now we're looking at, you can see the square footage that we're looking at, 13,000 square foot. Now, according to our study, we've got a lot of information from what we need in the building. So those are the number of square feet that we're looking at. And that's subject to change depending on others that are interested in also joining in partnerships. Next one. This is a proposed construction budget. Again, this study was done, I believe, 2 years now. So 2 years ago, so it's gonna definitely increase. Next one. Startup farmers market specialty store. So all of these things that we're gonna need on the inside of to get it up and running. So Agriculture Resource Center operations propose annual salaries. And again, this is subject to change. Administration location and Agriculture Resource Center. So again, when we look at activities that we're doing with the white corn, this center would help us to house a lot of our information and data that would support even our health department here. Next one. And thank you. Flood of questions, I'm hoping.
Any questions or comments? Yep, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Jesse, Frank. Again, in the past, we've had some grocery stores kind of pop up and then not stay, right? They didn't last. Did you ever look at the reasons why they weren't successful? Is it I was trying to find it in here, but I wasn't able to find that. Second question I had is you saying 26% of our land is we can use for farming. How many? What's the percentage of the tobacco industry? How much have they used in terms of that? Like what I'm trying to get at is 26%. Is that land that can be used just for farming outside the tobacco industry?
Your first question on why didn't the grocery stores work? You know as well as I do, you have the old my truck's bigger than your truck. You have the personal issues, you have all those kind of things that happen with owners of businesses. So what I'm saying is the lack of support. So one of the reasons why it's community owned is that it's owned by the community, so the support has to come from all of us. So we looked into a lot of the reasons why. We talked to some of the people that were involved in the grocery stores, and it came down to supporting that store. So we want this to be community owned so that we can get as much support from our community. And that means all of our community. That means the lodge, that means all the service providers needs, that means the schools. So there's a lot of things that need to happen in order to do that. So it's kind of like we've taken the long approach in having different meetings with other service providers to see how we can access that. So a lot of it is your spot at the table, the council spot at the table, is to help us to overcome the barriers that they have in buying from their own people. So we have to look at creating that sticker, if you want to call it, on our food for security to give them, I guess, a way to say that they don't have an excuse. We've covered all our bases. So that's one of them.
Just to add to that there, I think if, this whole project can be, conveyed in a sense or to everybody that it is owned by Six Nations as a whole and not a group of individuals, or so to speak. But, to really make it, look like it's here to stay, I think to convey that the dollars that are involved with what's going to be coming back to Six Nations is huge in making this thing happen. The benefit of the dollars coming back, you know very well what it's like to ask the road situations, your drainage. If all of that can be put to a common use for the benefit of everybody, needs to be riding out along the same path as this, what we're trying to achieve here.
To answer your second part about the land use, tobacco is on an increase every year. Every year, more and more land is going to tobacco. So the percentage of actually how much land is in food production, we don't have that. I don't have that for right now. But it doesn't mean that are outside the territory, that your discussions with the provincial, federal governments on lands returning to us, hopefully the farmers can play a part in assessing these lands as to what they're best used for. So it's not to turn down an existing apple orchard farm. It's not to turn down an existing strawberry farm. These type of things that could come back to the community.
Helen?
Yeah, when we had that grocery store in the plaza, it was kind of a big store. It's the markup of the goods that screws everybody. They gotta mark their goods up so high that people didn't want to pay the price because you get it cheaper off reserve. That was the issue, and it's gonna be an issue. But my other question is, have you did anything in terms of trying to start a partnership with Cloverleaf Farms? Because we do have a grocery store. Cloverleaf Farms is here. I don't know if our community can sustain 2 grocery stores. So have you met with them at all to try and work up some kind of a partnership if this goes through to work with their grocery store?
Can,
Loblaws, which has every franchise in Canada. They do, this farm center will be a farm center, not like a Cloverleaf or any of those. It's gonna be like the old fashioned farm center where you come for bulk things and so on, and it could supply, like you said, the services for whatever they need to do, whatever kind of food service they provide. So the idea is that we're not there to mock Cloverleaf or anybody else. It's to be a farm center, and people in the community can even do contracts with the resource center be shown how to grow things. And we can grow things out in everybody's backyard. Teach them how, small, down to earth, not huge grain producing things. No, and the cost of that today is outrageous, but we can see our study was done so that it reflects what could survive in the community. Looking at all the impacting factors inside and outside the community. So that's why we think it can survive, and the funding, as you know, that goes off the reserve currently for food is outrageous. I mean, it's millions every week. Everybody's grocery bill now is what, $400 or $500, if you have a family of four. And you times that, times how many houses on the reserve, times a year. The outlay of funding outside of the community is outrageous. So, and in this study, it predicts how much would be coming back to the community by looking at the shopping habits of everybody on and off the reserve and so forth. But the resource center is critical to teaching people how to rejuvenate agriculture in the community to sustain us in this time when things are looking pretty dim. And even the attack on the ground, the way the current farming operations go, they're having detrimental effect on long-term impacts on the growing areas. So as far as having acres and acres, Greg, we're looking at more people growing their own thing and smaller, and whatever they have left, they can sell to the farm center. And then it can also have these agreements with others to keep it running year round. So hope this helps.
Thank you, Ruby. Hazel, then Cynthia. Yeah, Hazel, you're on mute if you're talking. Hazel? We'll come back to Hazel. Cynthia? Can you use your mic?
Sorry. Thanks for your report. I'm just curious about the Farmers Association. And do you know, like, I rent my land to a local farmer. And how many farmers are there in the community? And do they all belong to this Farmers Association?
People tender person in the community don't belong to that organization. They're businessmen, and some of them have other ventures and so on. They support it, but they don't wish to belong and come to meetings and all that. But they're there, and they're dwindling. That's one of the reasons why the farmers want to go forth with this, is because of the succession planning issues. Lots of the kids in the families, now they can't even get up on a tractor. I mean, I don't pretend to think that I could either on these great big tractors, but back in the day I could. You know, smaller, people can learn how to do and work, and with the education aspect and so on, help it all happen. But they're dwindling, Cynthia. And if you look through that study, Warren Salt did it for K.L. Martin for us, and it shows it's dwindling everywhere in Canada, the number of farmers every year. It's drastically dropping. So it's a huge issue. There's going to be nobody producing food if we don't get busy. And if you think Six Nations will get first dibs when it comes to push or shove, we're not going to have it.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of my concerns. When you're listening to news, not just here, but all across Canada, it seems like these smaller farmers, like would pass their farm from generation to generation, are having to compete with these huge farming corporations, like, and not from Canada. And I can only imagine it must be just as difficult here. Since I rent my land to a local farmer, and I've had offers from tobacco people, and they can't call my farmer, my fella, he can't compete with the price that they would offer. And I was wondering, because I know one year he had some troubles, financial troubles, but he said there was this, and I can't remember what it was. It's some sort of a organization, farmer organization that helps the farmers. Do you know what I might be talking, or he might be talking about, and does that tie in anyhow to this?
Go ahead, Frank.
He was probably referring to the IAPO program. They were here, or they still are, I guess. I haven't had any dealings with them in the past there, but in having dealt with them, I'd advise totally against them.
What's it called?
It's called the Indian Agricultural Program of Ontario. To me, they've caused nothing but a big heartache for anybody that ever did get involved with them, to the sense there that once you were in their clutches, you never got loose. Mostly monetary wise. So, like I said, nothing against the way anybody wants to run their operations or anything like that, but if it was up to me for my advice, I'd stay the heck away from them.
Go ahead.
So they wouldn't have anything to do with what the goal here, to have a grocery store, and it's all obviously farmer and. Okay, I just was trying to understand what the structure was here.
Is she able to speak? Hazel, are you able to speak? She can't unmute. Okay. Audrey?
Good morning, Frank and Art, and whoever else is there too. I think the Farmers Association is a wonderful idea. They've been at our council for a long time, and the plans have changed, and they're forward thinking, which is really good. So yeah, I agree with Frank with the IAPO people. That was brought to council many times as well, and they did a disservice to our farmers, and especially financially. My question is, one of the barriers is going to be, and I've talked with one of the failing owners of a grocery store, and it was the price matching. People are really stretched on the dollar right now, and they're looking for sales, they're looking for bargains, they're looking for people who have fresh market food, fruit, vegetables, etc. But they want it at a price that is lower. So I don't know how we do that, but that's one of the things that'll have to be overcome. And what is done in winter is one of the questions that I have. So are you looking at a greenhouse to grow food in the wintertime? Also, I think it's a good idea to involve the education of the students. I'm the chair of the lifelong learning, and it's an excellent idea. Whether you arrange with Indian Affairs to have the students bused to your property, so they can basically have a hands-on experience, or whether you're heading to the schools to teach that. Because there's a lot of people, but not just children, adults who don't know how to lay out a garden. You know, they plant their trees too close together, they plant their plants too close together, and you start off with 12 plants of tomatoes. Next thing you know, it's one big forest in your garden. So if we could continue on with that, that would be good, and maybe even have it open to the public to come and learn how to plant and lay out their garden and what vegetables and how far apart they should be and what's the best time for planting, all that sort of stuff. It's almost like a introductory 101 to farming. And the other part is, do you collect heritage seeds? I know that Terry Brandt did that, and then she did an excellent job as the keeper of the seeds, which was great. But we need somebody taking over for her and making sure we do have those heritage seeds to continue on Six Nations. So if you can answer my questions, that would be wonderful. But I think you're doing a good job. You know.
To answer your first question about price comparable, we are definitely not naive to our people looking for bargains or what you have there. Along with having good prices, we want to also have education on what they're buying. So just because something's a good price doesn't necessarily it's something good for you. A lot of the things that are brought in from other countries, they don't have to do what we have to do. So our people are consuming things that are not good for them in some areas that are of production around the world that end up getting trucked here. So a lot of this is also going to be educating on what we're having for sale. And that's going to fall in line with the safe and security part of this whole feasibility. And your second question there, what was that? You're still on mute.
Audrey, you're still on mute?
Thank you very much, Sheridan. The question was, how are you going to get fresh fruits and vegetables in the wintertime? Are you looking at building greenhouses or what is your plan?
Well, this is gonna take a number of years to realistically get it all in place, but cold storage is gonna play a big part of the off season. Our other service providers involved with this grocery store are gonna play in that as well through the off season.
The other
Helen,
one was education for kids and adults with teaching them 101 farming.
Well, again, we've gone into the schools with the white corn, and I'm not sure if everybody remembers here, but just to be able to get into that, we had a long struggle to be able to just get into the schools when we first started with the white corn, and we overcame those. So a lot of the things that are going to come up, we're going to have to be working continuously together to overcome some of the barriers that will be there to educate our people in different forms, whether it be the young or the old. So that's going to be a task that we're going to be hopefully jointly doing with council's assistance, especially with some of the other service providers that are under council to be able to work with us.
And the last one was about the heritage seeds.
Well, again, we asked council a few years back to do annual reports. And we would like to be able to have a facility that would be able to store those seeds correctly. And we'd also like to be able to have an accountability to council annually as to where we sit on food sustainability. Should we come up to another situation where we need food, how much do we have to survive? Including seeds, what are we looking at? Even propagating seeds and looking at the availability for like schools, for instance, looking for seeds for their schools, just different things like that. We wanted to be able to have that resource center capable of managing that.
Yeah, well, for answering my questions and I keep up the good work.
go ahead, Vera, then Helen.
I was just thinking about a long time ago when Audrey and I both were teaching at JC Hill. They bussed in the kids for the family studies and the woodworking programs. And you know, they loved it. They were right into it. That was the highlight of the week, was to come to JC Hill, to come to family studies or woodworking. And I think that, you know, as a council, I think you really should be pushing to put that back into the schools. they need that basic training for lifelong living. And I think that's extremely important because, you know, with this resource center that we are hoping to get up and running, we can incorporate teaching platforms where, you know, just the everyday things that kids need to learn, even the adults, they would come. I know they would come. And it was a rewarding opportunity to be able to, you know, present to those kids that came every week. And I'm sure Audrey can attest to that as well. That family studies was the place to be. And I think we should really reconsider bringing that back into the schools. Thank you.
Helen?
Okay, it seems like over the past year or so, when this start coming up, every time I ask the hard questions, I get accused of not supporting the farmers. Well, I support the farmers. I support food sustainability. I support our community. But my question is money. It's gonna cost a lot of money to do this, and it's my understanding that you want council to pay for it, everything. You want us to give you the land, you want us to build all the buildings, you want us to fix up the buildings that are there. Pretty much funding the whole project, as far as I know. I know you tried to work with social service for a bit, but that didn't work for some reason, I don't know why. So it's money. It's gonna be, council is gonna be the main funder. And I don't know, right now, we haven't done the budget yet, even though we should have done that in January. We don't even know what kind of money we got to work with at the present time. Because we haven't done budgeting. So that's my concern. It all comes down to it's money, because it's a good idea and everything, but I know council's expected to fund the whole thing, and that's a lot of money. And then like the land too is a big issue. We're at a land crisis right now when it comes to housing. People can't find land to build a house. So there's a big issue with farming, there's a big issue with tobacco, there's a big issue with the need for housing. And we don't have that much land, as you can see, we're just little. So that's another big issue, is the land issue. Council itself, we have land, but it's not added to reserve yet, we can't use it, but there's all those issues, but my main concern is the money. I don't know where we're expected to get the money, because right now, like I said, I have no idea what kind of money council's working with, because we haven't done budget yet. So that's my concern, and I do support you guys. I hate it when people, whenever I raise the hard questions and I get accused of not supporting the farmers. That's not true. I do support the farmers. But I'm also a counselor sitting here responsible for the money. To make sure we have the money to do what we want to do. And it's gonna cost a lot. We've seen the figures up there. It's gonna cost a lot of money to do this. And I don't even think you had the figures up there for the cost of the buildings. I'm not sure, but I didn't see it, how much it's gonna cost to do those buildings. So, and I could tell just by looking at your face, Jesse, that you're thinking I don't support the farmers. I do.
I got a question there for,
Go ahead.
I want to explain something to Helen. A grocery store for our territory, I mean, she mentioned about going in with another outfit, another store. Every cent that's going to be spent in this grocery store stays on a reserve. It's not to buy somebody another Cadillac or go out to Vegas and bet the horses or whatever they do down there. Every cent stays on the territory to help our community. The council has made some bad decisions like everyone else. They got that recycling bunch of steel down there that never panned out. Where'd that money come from? Well, I think we got to look in our own in-house before we go out and put everything on the farmers, because farmers work hard to produce the food that we do. We don't do it for nothing. We don't get no honorariums for what we've done over the years. We do it willingly to help our community. It's not to line our pockets, Helen. It's just to try to get everything that we can to keep agricultural rolling. I remember when this council used to give out seed, clean seed, had a tractor, a plow, and a disc and a cultivator, and you'd go to your farm and work the land for you so you could grow your own food. That's how we survived 70 years ago. So there is money involved, but you gotta have money to do things, and if this council can support us in any way, GRE shipping all kinds of money off the territory. Gotta learn how to keep that and be able to work with the Confederacy. Some of the reports that Aaron Devler puts out in the paper buying places in Toronto, where's that money coming from? Coming from what business they're doing on our behalf, pocketing it. So we wanna look around before we do too much criticizing for money. That's all I have to say.
Jesse?
Yes. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. I will be nice to you. I'd be nice to everybody. A part of what we're tasked with is nothing but information. We're tasked with trying to find facts. We're not here to make a presentation to council for council to buy the land, give money, be responsible for all of this. That's not what we're here for. We're here to make a presentation based on the need of food sustainability. In this food sustainability, we're outlining what's out there. And a part of what's coming to light is other entities that want to partner with us, that see the growth of this. In this study that's now 2 years old, there's numbers in here that tell us how much we've spent as a community off the reserve in food. And it's amazing. It's in the millions per year, millions. So for us to look at that and be business people and be able to look after our own. A lot of comments were brought up this short little while we've been talking about what's the prices, how are we going to educate, where's the money coming from? If you look at investing in this community on our health, the Farmers Association isn't going to be promoting a facility that's going to be full of junk food. We're trying to look at how to sustain our people, food sustainability. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to be even strange, even funny, even outrageous, even whatever you want to call it. When this council, and not you particularly, maybe you were here then, I don't know, but well, he could have covered this, but if you look at the housing, we've changed the requirements when we first start going out for houses to now. We've changed those requirements of what minimally you have to have covered with that money. So if you look at food sustainability, can you imagine that if we were to start thinking outside the box, a part of our ability for food is we have waste, a lot of waste. So when you buy something, you don't consume everything that you buy. There's a lot of waste that you get rid of. So for us, we are looking at coming up with a presentation that looks at other things that come with food sustainability, but we have to begin this working relationship. And a part of it is, can you imagine if a part of the housing dollars were to incorporate something for cold storage for every home? To be able to be a part of that, to be completed in a home build, so that young families can store food that would last them for a little while, instead of not being able to sustain their own family. The ability to do preserves and not store them correctly to benefit from all that hard work. So all of this education is going to hopefully be a benefit to our people. So it's not just about putting a grocery store. It's not looking at just partnering with a huge grocery chain to make them wealthier. It's about us as people. You brought up a good comment about looking out for our community. If this isn't looking out for our community, I really don't know what is then, because we've done a lot of legwork here based on information that is facts, based on what we need in the future for our people. So the resources, the part of the offsetting the cost, even if you want to talk about subsidies for food from this council, a part of this is looking at ways to get it to begin. So right now, and this is something that I hope you understand. We want council to have a seat at the table because there is huge things that are gonna come up with this. When we start looking at contracts, we start looking at partnerships, we start looking at sponsorships. We want to do these presentations. If John Deere follows through with being a partner or a sponsor, what does that mean? And we feel that council should be sitting there understanding what that involvement means. If we have a bank that wants to be a partner or a sponsor, council should be at that table to understand what that means. So in order for us to keep moving forward, we can't stop because of our prices are gonna be too high. We're beating ourselves even before we start. So a part of moving forward is that if you can envision our community being a hub in food sustainability for other Native communities, just that alone, can you imagine that? Us being in a hub for other communities, smaller communities to purchase large purchases from this grocery store as a part of it to help sustain this. Instead of, what do we have, 30,000 here? Just below 30,000, can you imagine that just the potatoes that we consume? Can you imagine if we were to start buying now and selling them in bulk to other Native communities? That's just one thing. Can you imagine if, and I say this so that you could look at it in a broad term. Everybody knows how lucrative tobacco is. Can you imagine how lucrative dairy products would be? Chickens, chicken meat, eggs, all those things that are out there that we could manage economically, we could control. So again, it's viable for us. We just have to get our business hats on here. It's in this business, sit down and start looking at the viability of it. If you look at the number that's in this book here, and that it's gone up now, we'd be hitting around the $40 million a year mark in what we spend in food on this reserve. So can you imagine just 10% of that? Just 10%. So it doesn't take much to look at the viability of it to be able to sustain us. The spin-offs of this is a little bit that we touched on, but can you imagine the spin-offs of it? Cynthia made a comment about large farms gobbling up the small farms. We've been experiencing that for a number of years. If we were to look at being successful in creating a lot of smaller farms, can you imagine the improvement in livelihoods of those farms, those families? So this is going to cover this is going to impact a lot of things in our community. So it's more than just a grocery store. There's more here than just that. We've given you a lot of information to read since we've started this. And we want your participation. And we don't want you to come in with blinders. We want you to come in with, in your political realm, what do you see that could benefit us in this food sustainability? How could you help us? We aren't coming here with our hands out to get everything or to ask for everything or for you to do everything. We are coming here for your assistance in making this something that our people need desperately. So I hope that we never experience another issue with health across the world like we just have. But if we have this up and running, it would help sustain our people in a good way and keep us alive.
Okay, Melba, Amos, Audrey, Cynthia, Elena. Oh, follow up by Helen.
With all due respect to my elder, I wasn't criticizing. I was just raising my concerns, and I don't believe the farmers are going to line their pockets by doing this. That's not the way I'm thinking. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, Melba.
Yeah, I think we have the responsibility and the obligation to assist. We assist many programs, and I think when we talk about a budget, I think the Farmers Association should be in our budget annually. I look at this, the possibility of phases in what you're trying to do. I think it's directly related, Jesse and others that have spoke today about our health. That's what we need. And Ruby has mentioned, our poor health that we have across Six Nations, diabetes, heart problems, all those things. How food makes such a difference in how we live, how we relate, how we bring our families up. I think also that council should be now looking at a site location, researching that now. So I do believe we need to help you because you're going to help the whole community and you're going to help council take on the responsibilities that they should be doing. I wondered about when you said cold storage. I was brought up on a farm like other people around the table, and I wonder about old methods because I was brought up with old methods. We had root cellars, and we had apples all winter long below the frost line. They tasted a little different, but it was food. So those kind of things, along with the new methods, they worked back then, and that's Mother Earth. We said we have it all, and we do. If we research it and go back in time to a certain extent, and then use the new methods also. So I really admire what you're doing, and I believe in what you're doing. Um, there's a lot of other things I could say, but I hope that you'll continue with your pursuit of actually putting this into operation. And as mentioned, you're going to employ a lot of people, a lot of people. And I wondered how many people we have in agricultural school. I think it's University of Guelph. And do you take advantage of that with new methods of how farming should be continuing in certain ways? I know you've had training in certain areas to look at, what can be put on the land and what is harmful and things like that. So I really believe in what you're doing, and I would hope to see it off the ground before I get in the ground. So you certainly have my support in anything that I can do, but I do believe that you're on the right path to improving our health. That's what it's all about. Improving our health and how we take care of ourselves. Once again, thanks.
Amos?
Yes. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's waking up something inside of me. I guess I never thought of it, even though my parents and my grandparents had gardens and they put up stuff in the fall, even pears and strawberries they would can. And I just remember, I just think just now, none of them had diabetes. So what's changed in these last couple of decades? It's probably all the processed food that we're eating from all these big name corporations. So I never know my grandparents to have diabetes. So something's changed in our diet, and I think this is you're on a good path here to bring that back to our consciousness. So I support it. We just got to do it in phases, as was mentioned. And I'm committed. I have 4 years here, so I'm committed as much as I can in the next 4 years. I keep saying that ad nauseum. But I just want to know, have you met with Guyana? I'm just joining this council, so I see that thing vacant. It seems like 6 months of the year across the river, sorry. So I just wondered whether you met with their people as well, or I think Great runs Guyana, right? So I was just wondering how there was any cooperation there, just to see what I've noticed having joined council, that we all work in silos, and that has to stop if we're going to be leaders in this community to try and lead our community. All of our talent have to meet and talk about what they want for quality of life for Six Nations. And it doesn't seem to be happening. And we're going to start this. I know I'm going to have a couple of sessions this month with health to try and get in front of it. So hopefully we can start this with farmers as well, and with our food sustainability. Anyway, I just want to know whether you guys have met with Guyana yet. I just want to tell you too, I'm at the University of Toronto and we designed, our one class had to design a futuristic, I guess, distribution of land at Guyana State. And we have 70 students in this course, and we had 35 models of an interpretation center that could have been used at Guyana State. 3D, even three-dimensional models. These students were serious about it. They even came to Guyana State. They made a site visit, looked at the terrain, right to the river. These models, I'm not an architect, but I work in architecture. It was magnificent what they could have done with buildings, just as a dream of what Guyana State could be. And that's why I asked whether have you met with Great and Guyana State to see whether there can be a cooperation there. You know,
To answer that, yes, we have talked with them in creating this food sustainability. We have talked to them prior to that even. And I hate to say this, but there's a lot of lands, there's a lot of things that other service providers have in their abilities to work with us, but for some reason, they're choosing not to. So I'll give you an example. Like you made a comment about the greenhouses that they look empty. We've asked to propagate seeds in there, and they wanted to charge us a phenomenal rate to be able to use that facility, and there it sits empty. There's ideal land behind Guyana State that is a small acreage. I believe it's like 10 acres, but it's probably the best producing land in all of the community that sits idle. So those are things that could help us if this council is willing to look at all who is under the umbrella of council of what they have in a line of being available. But you also have to keep in mind, and I'm not too sure if anybody at this table here is, farming is a seasonal type of venture. So there's a time to it. So right now, if you look at us getting new land for 2024, it's hard to get in there and turn it over and make it usable for agriculture in this short time. It's not to say we can't, but we have to look at a success rate. So we have to do the best things that we have to do for success. So a part of it is planning it the year ahead. So that's a part of working with Guyana. Say there's still an availability to do it, but we need council's help in talking with the service providers to see if there's a willingness of what is there available for us to use, and how can we work together to put a plan in place for that to happen.
Okay, Audrey, Cynthia, Elena, Dale, then we'll wrap it up.
That was very well said, Jesse. I agree with what Vera was saying about having family studies and shop come back, but it'll have to be updated into the newer technology, et cetera. And the things that students learn there, boys and girls, both take the same thing and then they flip. Canning, drying food, meal planning, nutrition. So all those things we need, because it's as well as financial literacy, to help our families on the reserve, I guess help with the sustainability of food. They're doing it for their own family. And maybe if they have extra, it could go to that store or to the food bank. And I think that recycling is an offshoot of this. We have to take a look at recycling again. And I visited a friend in Nanaimo, and they're allowed 1 bag of garbage per week to go out. And they all, or most of all, compost. So those are the types of good habits that it's going to cost money to get into, but it'll be worth it in the end because we're taking care of Mother Earth. I think council needs to meet more regularly with the Farmers Association so that we grow together on this. And I also believe what Jesse was saying is that we need more departments working with the whole group to see how it can be, I guess, working in collaboration. And also, I think there should be a roadmap of how we lay this all out. What needs to be built, what needs to be done first, all this to the end, and if you want to hire somebody to do that, or if you're able to do that, that would be wonderful. And I do believe that Guyana is wonderful with what they do too. So I hope that they can see their way into working with Farmers Association. Yeah. Well,
Cynthia?
I was looking for that feasibility study. We don't have it in here. Eh? That wasn't my question. I was just, oh, I seen this. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding, like, at the end, what we'd like is a store. The produce or meats in the store would come from our local farmers. And I think what I heard you say is also in recognition that we have less and less land available for gardens, because it's being taken over by tobacco. That is part of the plan also to encourage individuals then to do their own gardening, and then they could, of course, use it for their own tables, but also contribute to this store. And that's what I thought I heard. And I would just wanted to note that I think it was it last week or the week before, I forget already. I was able to go down to Oneida, our neighbors over there to the west, for that Iroquois caucus, and Jesse and you were accompanied by a gentleman there. And Jesse gave a presentation to the Iroquois caucus explaining what he just said here. And in his presentation, I was very impressed because he got people's minds turning and starting with need. If you need this, then that inspires the need for example, tractors for John Deere and et cetera. And it just spun right out. And I could see people busily thinking. And those representatives with chiefs or counselors from various of our communities were very interested. And for example, the one fella, he said that they had lots of potatoes they grew. So that's why I was trying to understand this whole thing is, so it wouldn't not just be, no, it's interesting, like how many farmers are there? And Ruby said, no, there's only about, they're diminishing 8 or 10, which isn't a lot. Along with the fact that more and more people are leasing their land out or selling their land, and tobacco is being grown. So I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding that concept correctly. And if I could just add something on to the end of it. So we'd have like the whole 360, that is the seed, the planting, producing, selling. But also at the end, I heard this radio program, and I can't remember the data, but it was waste, food waste, and it was alarmingly high. So I'm wondering if part of the plan, if we could have like a organic recycling would help, like be part of that whole cycle.
For sure, like, well, all of what you're saying, the term, the resource center is not just capped off at one thing. There's a huge demand for a lot of things out of this resource center. So again, it's gonna be a lot of pressure put on this resource center to ask, advocate, and implement these activities. So we've overcome a lot in our community, right from having kids have the availability to come to a field, the insurance issues that were surrounding those things. We're now discussing the issues of buying produce from this facility, of what the barriers are. So there's a lot of things that we're overcoming now that were talked about prior to any discussions that would stop that activity. So now we're actually opening the doors, the minds to people to want to get involved and overcome those issues. Council has the ability to do that. Council has the ability to support that with those service providers that are already in the community to help us. So again, it's a win-win for us if we can put our heads together for this business This isn't a freebie, giveaway, it's here today and gone tomorrow. That's not what we're doing here. We're doing something that's going to be in here for our future.
Elena, then Dale.
Thank you all for your presentation, and I appreciate all the hard work that has gone into all of these reports and feasibility studies and things over the years. And I see what your dream is. And I do agree with those that have spoke around the table about having it done in phases. And I'm taking from what Ruby had said about the number of people that are farming or and not interested now in farming, and people not being able to leave their farms to younger folks in their family. And if it is 10 from the numbers in the feasibility study, that's reduced by nearly half in the last 4 years. So the knowledge, right, is being lost very quickly. So I'm wondering if people have talked about phases, if you're agreeable to that, and perhaps an investment from this table initially, for your organization to help families get more involved in that. So like working up the ground this spring and this summer and starting small that way. And because you said it would take years for that grocery store, for that to materialize with the people doing work and creating small farms, I'm wondering if that's the place to start and if you guys are agreeable to that.
We've already started that. And just to give you a little bit of background, I believe it was 2 years ago, we did a garden. We hired a horticulturalist to help. We got 5 community members, young people, to participate. And they grew a phenomenal garden on the worst piece of ground in this community. And some of the counselors actually went and took a look. We do have video of the growth of that throughout the season of it. The viability of it is there. We also went into the schools. And when we first went to, I'll give you an example, I.L. Thomas. I'm not sure how many kids are in that school, but they brought them all into the gymnasium that day that we were there. At the time we took them in there, we took white corn with us. Not one child in that gymnasium could answer what that was. Not one. But today, I guarantee you, every one of them would be able to identify it and know what it is. So we've come a long way in helping our community. We've also worked with our health department in these different things that's happened in the last couple of years. So we are making small progresses in that realm. But I don't want there to be a misconception here. We want to create this grocery store and open it up. So we are not going to be relying on the 8 or 10 farmers to stock the shelves. We want to make sure you understand that this is going to be a full functioning grocery store. So it's going to take a lot of work. So again, we want this to be up as soon as possible. Like we are prepared within, I'm going to say 18, 20 months at the long term to make this realistic so you could actually go in and buy something. So that's what we're looking at. So to overcome a lot of barriers and issues, like we have a lot of work to do. And we're gonna need council to be at that table to help govern this whole venture, because we're gonna be talking to the banks, we're gonna be talking on the taxation issues, we're gonna be talking on quota issues, we're gonna be talking on a lot of things here. So we're behind already.
Dale?
Thank you. I want to thank the Farmers Association. Looks like you guys did a lot of work on this report, and I know farming's not an easy thing to get into, and it's you're up before the sun and still up when the sun goes down. So I know it's a lot of work, but to I would just want to speak to make a recommendation. We accept this as information, and I think it'd be prudent for council to read this report. And I know we could probably answer a lot of questions that people have been asking around the table, and so that we can generate more questions so that we can have a more fulsome discussion later on in regards to the reality of creating this path. So I would like to move to accept this as information.
Dale moves. Is there a seconder? Second by Audrey. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. So just, yep, go ahead, Melba.
Yeah, I just want to make A couple of comments here. I want to tell you a little story. It's very quick. The late Brenda Davis began making a quilt, and she didn't finish. She passed away and didn't finish. So Marilyn Morley completed the quilt, and they sold tickets on it. And they brought in $7,000 for the Mohawk Village in Brantford. And I'm wondering if you have spoke of a gala, fundraising gala for the community to give. We have a lot of businesses on the reserve. Cannabis, cigarettes, gas, you name it, we have it here. We have a lot of council departments with dollars who may be able to help also. So that is my suggestion. That's a possibility that you hold a huge gala that can contribute to what your goals are here, and you decide how you would use those dollars. And I'm sure you have the idea what you would do with it. You could make lots of money, plus the business that we have coming here and working for band council in various ways, electrical, housing, you name it. We have it here. So that's my suggestion. Thank
I
you.
like your thinking.
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, just along the same lines as what you're talking about, Melba, is kind of sparked something in my head there that I think that you guys sitting around this table are in a real opportune situation. Getting back to the issue of the land claims and stuff. Why can't part of the dollars that's owed to Six Nations be asked for upfront? I know Helen said in one of her statements there that we're looking for money, and we're not looking for you guys to finance it. For what's owed Six Nations as a whole, and what we're trying to achieve as a whole, why can't we pound on their door and say it's time to start ponying up, guys, here, and get some dollars coming back here so that we know at the end of the day our people are going to be looked after.
Thank you. So again, me and Nathan were talking. So the farmers could be under health. Have a portion for the health agenda. If that's okay. Just to keep updated every month. And Amos is the chair of the health well-being. Also too, just after your conversation at Iroquois Caucus, that they want to start a food sustainability committee. Yeah, so that was awesome hearing all that too. And before we wrap up, go ahead, Ruby, you have the last word.
Wow, the last word. I want to say that this has been slow, folks, and but we've been struggling along with proposals, and everything that's been done, we've managed to get a proposal of funding to do it. So we'll keep doing that. This is a laid out plan, what Jesse presented today. That we know about the land, the needs, then the building, then the inside of the building and so on, and how to set up those contracts and so on to work with it all. It's all laid out. That was what we did all last year. We got money from Ag Canada to do this, and that's all they would allow us to do was make an implementation plan. And we finished that in March. So that's why we're here trying to tell you this plan is ready. And I know we've been working with Dean and he's one of his other hats. And that he does, and he knows there's a lot of agricultural money out there in proposals, right, Dean? You didn't say a word about it, but you know about it. I know you do. So this is really important because if you look around the world, everybody knows, everybody's marching, nobody's growing anything. There's all kind of disasters. There's horrible stuff going on. And in my past, there was one instance where we needed bids for us, when the hydro went out here, we ordered some bids and we checked to see why they weren't there on that day and they were going to Simcoe. So that told me we'll be last to get anything. It's time, guys. It's time that you can't eat money, you can't eat tobacco, and you can't eat cannabis. We gotta have food, good food, because our people's health is suffering too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for guys for coming in today. Yep, go ahead, Cynthia.
I said I was looking for the feasibility study. I thought it was in our Dropbox, and you said there's two of them. I didn't have it. I have this. Should people ever all have this survey report, and then there's separate a feasibility study?
First one, the community opinion.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm just saying. I think everybody else around the table got the feasibility study, which I'd like a copy of that, but should they also have this or?
I was given out last time you were here, right? The
Oh,
first one.
that's from then, okay.
Yep.
Do you have another feasibility then? Cause I
Yep,
got,
she
I
doesn't
have
have that.
this.
Oh, Audrey,
Yes, I need the same copies, please.
Jesse,
Next, Dale.
can you leave two more copies if you have two more? Or three. I got Hazel, Leslie. Yep. Yeah. All right. So if there can be two more, if you got two more. I have them. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Adoption of the minutes for March 25th. Move Cynthia, seconder, Carrie, all in favor? By post? Oh, go ahead. Okay. All right, personal time? Make those changes? Okay. With those changes, all moved. It's number 6, request permission to film on Six Nations of the Grand River. So it's all in your package. The Six Nations of the Grand River Electric Council grant permission to Indigenous Service Canada to film a day in the life of an environmental public health officer. A career video, which will involve an on-site group that will include 2 to 3 film crew and 2 to 3 Indigenous Service Canada employees with film and media equipment. This film will showcase Peter Hill in the work of EPHO is within the community in efforts to bring awareness to day-to-day work of an EPHO, such as water testing, inspection of band buildings, public space, and or work closely with band departments, chief and council to resolve issues. Is there a mover or thoughts? Go ahead, Dale.
No, I'll move on it. The only comment I have is if I guess if he's doing anything with individuals that they might have to get a consent or release for to be in that film, so. But I would move on it. I think I know Peter does a lot of work here and it's an important job.
So it's on the floor, moved by Dale. Are you second, Helen? Okay, I need a seconder, then Helen's comment. Second by Melba. Go ahead, Helen.
Shouldn't this be going through the ethics? Just the film? Oh. I'll second it then.
Oh, it's already.
Or it
second.
already gets second.
It already got second. Yeah. So moved by Dale, second by Melba. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Okay, number 7. Information from housing. Lily, you're online? Hello?
Sorry, guys, Dale's just leaving my office. I didn't wanna. Okay, so essentially I'm bringing this back. I know there was discussions about it, I think during orientation. And it came to the built environment committee table. And the chair, Councillor Dale Bomberry, asked for me to kind of elaborate on the changes to the CMHC RAP program, which is an amalgamation of, I think, 4 different programs. I know there was some concerns based on discussions that happened at the Chiefs of Ontario housing table. I'm not sure exactly what those discussions were, but based on my analysis, as well as Laura Mount Pleasant and Holly Boyd, who are responsible for program delivery, the changes do have a great impact on the program itself, but not the way that Six Nations Housing delivers the program. And the only real substantial changes are the maximums for the different types of programming. Now under RAP they all have the same maximum, as well as the requirement for inspections by CMHC's third party, which we know is Ontario First Nations Technical Services. They would come in and do the preliminary to define the scope of work, and then they would also do either progress, depending on the way things are invoiced, or final inspections to determine code compliance. That is no longer required. We determine the scope of work using our own inspectors, which we typically do prior to application anyways. And then at the end of the program, we would do a final to ensure code compliance per Six Nations housing policies. And then we basically fill out a declaration to CMHC saying that the work was done to code. So yeah, there's not a lot of changes in the way that, I don't think there's any changes really in the way that we deliver the program. But I know there's consideration at the coup table, obviously, for our sister communities. And it does change perhaps the way that those communities would deliver just based on their own capacity limitations. You know, maybe they don't have an inspector within the community itself to be able to do that. So they would have to hire one, which they would now be responsible for doing, as opposed to CMHC doing that for them. But yeah, it doesn't affect our program negatively in any way.
Okay, thank you. Is there any question? Dale?
Yeah, just comment. Thanks, Lilianne, for that information. But yeah, I'm on it council just to see what the impact was gonna be, because I know there was a word that was thrown around when you were saying downloading, and I guess the concept that it may have, but as Lilia explained, this may not be a lot of, or a significant impact on their operations, but I wanted to see in paper so that the council could see what the variations or the difference would be. So thanks, Lilia. Or Lilianne, sorry.
Yeah, Helen?
Well, first of all, call it what it is. It's transfer of programs and services. CHMHC is transferring all their programs and services to Six Nations to look after and be responsible for. That is transfer. And I myself do not support transfer. I don't know about the rest of you. Secondly, if we're taking over CMHC's programs and services, there should be administration dollars come with it. There should be monies if you want to hire somebody, because there's like 6 programs here. When the community finds out we're doing these 6 programs, you're going to have an influx of people probably applying for them, especially that garden suite. That garden suite program, you can add a whole room onto your house to service your elderly, or if you need a room for something or whatever. That's part of it. And I could see a lot of people wanting to access that program. But I was to understand, Lily, when you first talked about doing this, that there wasn't no money coming with it. Is that still the same, or are they sending money now?
So to clarify, Helen, that kind of in-law suite program is not one of the programs under the new RAP program. There's home adaptations for seniors independence, which is called HASI, which is a renovation program. The residential rehabilitation assistance program, which was the general RAP, the old RAP disability, as well as the emergency repairs program. This does not allow the building of an additional suite. These are just programs that we currently facilitate for CMHC that are being folded under one program. I don't see an influx, or I don't see a concern for an influx of people applying, because these are programs that we've already facilitated for CMHC for years. Our process doesn't change. So the amount of work that we're doing doesn't change. The allocations come from CMHC, still an application-based program. So you still do have to apply. And CMHC does approve those applications based on what your allocation is. Again, the allocation issue, which I've discussed before, is a completely separate issue from the changes to the RAP program. The allocations are based off of the clarification that I got from our CMHC specialist is that the allocations are based off of the funds that we received last year. So they analyze how much either in allocation we got the previous year or how much in slippage funds, which is the funds that are available at the end of the year, because other First Nations haven't utilized them. So they analyze that yearly and then decide how much they're going to give us. So because we've been receiving so much in slippage funds, because we're really good at delivering the program and we can get these files, you know, done quickly, which other communities might struggle with based on capacity. And if they're a remote special access community, they have problems getting contractors in. We don't have that issue. So we take a lot of those slippage funds. So it's preventing us from getting an allocation the next year because they said, well, you got this much last year. Of course, if those slippage funds aren't available based on the changes to the delivery of the program, then again, I would assume that we would then be eligible for an allocation going forward. But again, I don't want to put the two issues together because they're not, the changes to the RAP program has nothing to do with the allocation.
Oh, anyway, money. That was a long explanation, but so now that we're going to be now that we've taken transfer of these programs, we're going to be informing the community, right? That we have all of these programs that they can access.
It's not a transfer of the program.
Guarantee you, the people sitting at this table don't know the programs that CMHC can provide. I know they don't. Not everybody knows all of these programs, but so we need to promote this to the community that they can access these programs or apply for these programs. And I do see a lot of people applying for them as opposed to what they did before, because they used to apply to CMHC before and they were getting turned down all the time. Hopefully our program's not going to turn them down. So it was really cumbersome. People didn't even want to do it most of the time. I think the only one most people did was that RAP program that comes in and fixes up your house for $5,000 or something like that. I know a lot of people use that one. They don't know all the rest of the programs that are there. Not the general population. So I do see an influx. But I guess if council wants to take transfer of CMHC housing and that's up to you guys. And if Lily says it's not going to be no problem, then I hope down the road you're not asking for more money or asking for more staff or what. I totally disagree with it because it's CMHC's responsibility to do these programs, not ours. It's their responsibility.
Dale?
Yeah, and Liliana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these programs are existing. You've been delivering them for years, and all they did is now they made some changes, guidelines to those programs in relation to what's available to individuals. And there's still an application process going to CMHC once you get done. Once, I guess, housing staff gets done all their paperwork and inspections and creating the report to do the application. So I think it's just, if you look at the little chart that's in your report there, I think the programs are here, just that some changes have occurred to it.
Can I follow up to that, please?
Follow up.
It's not just a matter of delivering these programs. We're taking responsibility for them. We're going to be having to do a contribution agreement. We're taking over these programs. We're not just delivering them. It's a whole different thing. It's a totally different thing.
Lillian?
That's not correct. It's not under a contribution agreement. It's under the same application-based agreements that have been done in the past. We're not taking over the responsibility or the care of the program. We facilitate the program, which means we help our community members compile their application. We submit that application on behalf of the community member. We receive the funds to facilitate it the same way we facilitate our internal loans. and we do the inspections. So again, there is still an agreement that takes place between CMHC and these homeowners or the applicants directly. We're considered a co-payee on the program. So we receive the funds on behalf of this person to be able to facilitate the payment to the contractors. Nothing else changes. The liability doesn't change. The only additional liability we're taking on is the fact that we're doing the inspections ourselves. They're not being done by Ontario First Nations Technical Services Corporation. And just being mindful that when Ontario First Nations Technical Services Corporation, they follow CMHC guidelines. So where sometimes our code differs from National Building Code, such with raised heel trusses and things like that, they're not inspecting to meet our code requirements. They're inspecting to meet CMHC's requirements. So we do have a little bit more control over whether or not something gets approved and how things are facilitated within our community, which in my opinion, I don't think is a bad thing. To me, that's what council's been talking about for years in terms of exerting our sovereignty. It's not under a contribution agreement, to my knowledge. Again, I don't know how this has been communicated at the coup table, but it's still the same application-based process we've always followed. And Dale's right, these programs have been available to the community for a number of years. We did 8 HASI files last year. We did 4 ERP files. So community is well aware of the programs that are offered. There are limitations in terms of it has to be someone who's considered low income. So we analyze those on a case-by-case basis and let community members know, what is available to them. And they make a decision based on that.
Audrey?
Hi, Leanne. Just want to know if I could get a copy of that, what you're talking about right now with all the clarifications on there about CMHC.
So the application form for CMHC?
No, just what you said and told us now. It's got to come from your policy, right? Or your procedures.
About how people apply for the program?
All of it, and what the program is, and that we're not taking over housing from CMHC. We are, what did you use the word?
We're a facilitator.
Facilitate, okay.
Right. Yeah, so I can provide you with some of the delivery guides and the materials that outline the changes to the program. Everything else is status quo. I don't think, at least CMHC has never indicated to myself or to anybody else who was on the general announcement webinar that this was a transfer of care and control. I've never heard that. The only time I've ever heard that is from the coup table, which came through Helen. So, I can provide you with more information on what CMHC provides for the delivery of the program, but we've always just facilitated. We don't have an internal policy that dictates how we facilitate the program because it's all based on CMHC guidelines.
So how did this get started then? Are you able to check it out and fact check with CMHC?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be good because Chiefs of Ontario aren't running on nothing. Okay, I appreciate that, Lillian. Thank you.
Okay, so just more information. There's already 3 documents that's in your Dropbox. If there's no other questions for Lillian,
One more comment.
Helen?
Well, the name is changed to On Reserve Rehabilitation Program. So they have made changes. That's what it's called now. It wasn't called that before. The material I was looking for last night when I seen it on the agenda was I saw these things that have to get done, and I saw the word contribution agreement. They're tricking us. They're tricking us to think that we're not taking it over when we are taking it over. And the Chiefs Committee on Housing is very concerned about this because they see what's happening. And it may not impact Six Nations as much because we already have housing inspectors and all that kinds of stuff, but it's really impacting other First Nations communities that aren't as progressive as we are. Because they don't have the capacity to do this, but they're being told they have to do it. I don't know. I don't know how I can explain it any better than it's transfer. They're just not calling it transfer. And that's why they got so mad when I was saying stuff in the paper, because they knew I was telling the truth.
So with this information, for the infrastructure committee, if it can go back and, discuss even more. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Audrey, and then we'll move as information.
That's what I was going to recommend. We asked Helen to sit on these committees. She's brought back what she's found, and I think we have to give her the validity of what she's saying. So we got a fact check. And if they're changing terminology on us and trying to put one by, then we need that exposed. Yeah.
Lillian?
Yeah, I would just request, obviously, you know, I'm not present at the COO tables or AFN tables on housing. I do attend what is open to me, but if I could get some reports from the counselors, you know, that sit on these tables and kind of elaborate on what those discussions are that are happening at COO, because they're not explained to me in a way that I can provide accurate information to kind of rebut what is being said at the COO tables or confirm what is being said at the COO tables, because I'm unaware of it.
Nathan?
Yeah, I'll work with you, Lily, to follow up with Chris from Chiefs of Ontario to get the information. I do want to remind council, Chiefs of Ontario does not have a mandate on housing, nor do they have a housing expert. They utilize Ontario First Nations Tech Services as their expert. So I will be also following up and getting the facts from Ontario First Nations Tech Services, so you guys have the facts in front of you.
Right, but being mindful that there's a conflict there, because tech services are the ones that CMHC used to use to facilitate the program.
Okay. So can we, is there a mover to accept his information? Moved by Dale, second by Greg, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you.
Let's go to number 8, scheduling, 8.1. Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approve myself to attend the introductory meeting with City of Hamilton Mayor Andrea Horwath on April 25th, 2024 in Hamilton. Moved by Greg, seconder by Dean, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Number 2, the Six Nations of the Grand River Council approve delegates to attend the Economic Transformation Tapping into Water Sustainable Prosperity Conference to be held May 15th to the 17th in Montreal. Is there anyone that would be interested in going from the environmental or anybody? If not, you can get back to yeah.
I wonder if we can discuss it at committee.
Yeah, so if you guys can discuss that at the committee and then just let them know. Also too, the 14th annual Grand River Leadership Prayer Breakfast. The Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approve to attend the 14th annual Grand River Leadership Prayer Breakfast to take place at the Fisher Lions Hall in Fisherville on April 27th at 8 a.m. Is there anyone wanting to go? If yeah. So
I'd like to go.
Leslie? Okay.
Yes.
Is there a mover to Leslie Green to attend? Moved by Cynthia, second by Audrey. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. So now we have go to number 9. Leslie, there we go. Number 9, reports, council reports. As you see, 9.1, Cynthia Cynthia's report for March 27th, the Iroquois caucus as information. Go ahead. Helen?
Okay, I read Cynthia's report, but I'd never seen these other reports on my email. I don't know where, are they supposed to be on my email?
They're all in the Dropbox.
I didn't see them in a Dropbox either.
I'm not sure. It says counselor reports. Everybody else see them? Elena, yeah.
Cause I know it was Elena, I think it was, that asked Shirley if there, was it Elena asked Shirley if she wasn't gonna include the counselor's report? It was you, right? Was it you? Somebody asked, how come you're not gonna include counselor's reports on the agenda? Cause it wasn't on here till today. I didn't see them on the Dropbox. I seen Cynthia's, but I didn't see the rest.
Yep, go ahead.
Up there,
Yeah,
that's where
I
is.
think it
Oh,
was
okay, never
Hazel.
mind.
Oh, Helen.
I know where it is. now.
Sorry.
Okay,
I had a hell of a time getting in my Dropbox, by the way.
okay. She found them. Go ahead, Melba.
Yeah, I think it was Hazel who asked about the report, and then I followed up with a short report also, so I don't know where things are at.
Okay, so with Cynthia's, 9-1, we have, Elena's from the annual, Great Lakes Executive Meeting, March 4th and 5th. If there's any comments, if not, then we have, the 9-3, Leslie Green's on Indigenous Leadership Development Institute, First Nations Policing Legislation Engagement for March 5th. And then we have Counselor Leslie Green on attending TELUS placekeeping event. If there's no questions or comments, can I have a mover to accept as information 9-1, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4? Moved by Elena, second by Melba. All in favor? Be opposed? See none, carried. Number 10, I'll just do it in my opening. You want a quick one? Okay.
This one will be quicker than, as we do have overcast skies today, but the ECG did meet twice in anticipation of the eclipse event that was happening. News reports prior to this were we were one of kind of premier areas to view the eclipse. So we were worried about an influx of travelers coming into the territory. However, this morning I looked at the newscast at 2 o'clock, between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, we got about 80% overcast. And we've heard from some of these larger groups that they're moving west of London to do the viewing. So we don't anticipate a lot of folks coming into the territory anymore, but we do have plans in place should that happen, and any contingency plans going forward. So in addition to that, the chief's office and myself worked on a press release to kind of ask folks to respect their privacy, as we do have an event happening at Parks and Rec, but that is for community members to observe the eclipse, not for anybody else.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nathan. So number 11, Chief's updates. So again, thank you to community members reaching out to me and offering suggestions on different things in the community. Also, just along with the eclipse, just what Nathan has said, there are protective glasses here at Council House also, along with the Six Nations Public Library. The radio show, I'm excited to announce that Chief and Council's radio show is back this year. Starting next month. Chief and Council's radio show will feature 10-minute slots per month weekly. Each council member will have an opportunity to regularly share their good work with the community. Segments of the show will be dictated for the chief's updates. The Bill C-53 Métis legislation has been amended, but no significant changes made. It was supposed to go to third reading, but it hasn't yet. The House of Commons Standing Committee on Indigenous Affairs has made some small changes to the law, but nothing significant has been altered. These adjustments confirm that the law does not intend to diminish any rights of Indigenous peoples as outlined in the Constitution, but that that doesn't guarantee these rights won't be affected. The amends also state that any new treaty with a Métis government is to be studied by the committee, but this is redundant as the committee is free to study such new developments already. So again, the bill still remains problematic. Chiefs of Ontario, the First Nations Wellness Conference, I attended on March 19th. I gave opening welcoming remarks. Despite the overwhelming success, there was over 850 participants. The conference underscored the urgent need and commitment to improving community wellness through holistic and inclusive approaches. Also, too, I went to the A6N open house on Friday, March 22nd. The open house provided an insight glimpse into their new office at the Oneida Business Park. Meeting with MPP Will Boma on March 22nd. The purpose of this meeting was introductory as it was the first official sit down. We also discussed how Six Nations properties should be exempt from property tax. And also we talked about the need of increased provincial support, building water infrastructure for many Six Nations homes that don't have water hookups yet. Also went to the Etanona Watsitsi Community Recreation Center and Library Opening Celebration on Saturday, March 23rd. This new center's name means where they had a good, beautiful life. And it's from the Huron-Wendat word. So other notable attendees included Chief Romaine from Huron-Wendat, Elder Valerie King, the Mississaugas of the Credit, myself did all opening remarks there. Councillor Fraser and I were able to informally meet the Chief William Remain from the Huron-Wendat and discuss the mutual desires of future collaboration with them. The event organizers were very grateful of our participation. Overall, this was a success as it provided an opportunity for Six Nations to join with Mississaugas and the Huron-Wendat representatives within the Toronto area. Fall and Winter Athlete Celebration, the evening on March 23rd. That was at the arena. It was a pleasure giving recognition to our local athletes. I wanted to share my appreciation to the Six Nations Grand River staff for organizing the event again. A big congratulations to the athletes at all ages and skill levels. Keep striving and reach your dreams. The meeting with the federal representative on March 26th, an introductory meeting with the Director of Federal Schools, Travis Anderson. So I look forward to taking him up on his offer and touring the schools and more meetings to happen in the future. Meeting with Toronto Mayor Chow was on March 26th. Informed the Mayor Chow of the historic presence of Six Nations people in what is now Toronto. Also told her about the Mohawk origins of the city's name from what Amos told us. And she confirmed that her staff would be sure to invite Six Nations representatives to civic events going forward. The Iroquois Caucus was March 27th and 28th, hosted by Oneida of the Thames. They really took good care of us and good food. There are several political matters under discussions, include the opposition to Bill C-53, harvesting matters, and more broadly, how our Haudenosaunee communities can work together more closely. J Treaty Alliance meeting with the cabinets on April 3rd and 4th. The JTV is a group of First Nation tribal chiefs who are working to make border crossing easier for First Nations and our tribal friends and families in the U.S. Three Canadian cabinet ministers participated and informed us that they are working to propose legislation that would extend the right of entry into Canada to U.S. federally recognized tribes. So again, that's in the works. Also, Homeland Security. Some of the tribal members of the GTBA from the Kootenai tribe reported some disappointing news from the American government. For years, the US government has been asked to eliminate the blood quantum requirement of First Nations to enter the US. But instead, the Department of Homeland Security sent tribal leaders a letter proposing to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act, requiring American Indians born in Canada register as an alien immigrant and remove the inherent rights to cross the border freely to live and work in the US. The Kootenai tribe has sent Homeland Security a letter criticizing this proposal and have said that other letters of opposition can be sent by tribes and First Nations up to until May 9th. The American technicians present said that the proposal will probably not be formally proposed in Congress, but it never hurts to express our opposition. Yes, so that's my updates. Oh, go ahead, Melba.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you were invited to tour our schools, who is doing the inspections? As we know, Travis's late father, Orville Anderson, used to be in charge of that. Who is doing that now? Because counselors used to accompany the inspectors about the cleanliness and the flies and whatever needed to be improved for health reasons and safety reasons also. Do we know who's doing that now? And do they do it once a year, twice a year, or haven't they been doing it? Thanks.
I'll follow up with Mike to get a little bit more details because we do handle the O&M, but and I'll get right back to you on that.
And when the tour is able, counselors come along for sure. So mover to accept his information. Moved by Elena, second by Audrey. All in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
And that last part there about, let me see where it is. In camera, I lost your. All about, it's only for the chiefs. I thought it was for counselors who wanted to attend too, and that none would be turned away.
Regarding the JTBA?
Yep.
So that was the discussion. And again, what I mentioned in Calgary when I was there, and me and Michelle Bomberry were there, and they said counselors weren't allowed into the meeting. Also, the J Treaty Alliance Collaboration Work Plan, and it just has the high table, and it has all the chiefs who are on the high table for that. And I did ask what was happening, because I think there was some confusion that was going on regarding what was going on at the Jade Treaty Alliance regarding high tables and who was going. There's some confusion. And I did have a conversation. I talked to Gus Deer from Ganawage, like who was able to go, because I haven't been able to attend. So she said at this point, it looks like all counselors are able to go. It's supposed to be chiefs, but I guess all counselors are able to go now. So I got clarification, and for next time, for sure, counselors are able to go.
Thank you. That's what I wanted clarified.
Thank you. Helen?
Can we get Avery and Benedict to come down here and run through this whole Jake Treaty Border Alliance with council? Because I know the new counselors aren't really familiar with it. See if he'll come in, because I understand he's leaving. So hopefully we can get him down here to run through, because there's such a difference between the States and Canada. So we really need to understand what's going on, because we got to make decisions at some point. And I understand there was a template letter that they wanted us to send out regarding, I'm not clear, I can't remember. But I saw a template letter with the information from the Jade Treaty that they wanted all the chiefs to send. I think it's got something to do with that,
That legislation I was just talking
Yeah.
about? Yes,
I think.
yeah.
So.
So,
we
so
can-
for sure, we can get,
I don't even remember where I seen it, but I seen a template letter.
okay, so we can get Abram to
Yeah.
come in. Can we, put that on the list? Thank you. Audrey?
Yeah, can you update your last statement then? So it's counselors and chief and counselors.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just on your other update there about the WinDOT, you were saying the other, I thought, yeah, I always thought it was WyanDOT.
WyanDOT,
So I don't know,
WyanDOT,
maybe I'm
WyanDOT.
wrong. I don't know if the
Wind
pronunciation.
up, yep.
That,
Yeah,
WyanDOT.
WinDOT or
WyanDOT.
WyanDOT. I always thought it was WyanDOT or
Okay.
something, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Moved by, was it Melba? Was it moved by Melba? Who was it moved by? Elena. Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Okay, that ends the open. Thank you for joining us today. And be safe. It's cloudy out, but still don't look up. Don't look up. Have a great day. Thank you.